Okay, here we are, Life is Strange fam. We are talking about episode 2 of Life is Strange Double Exposure.
Hey, you wanna share my blanket?
Safe to say, spoilers, 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 because I'm gonna be spoiling all of the stuff, and there's some intense stuff that happens in this episode. So if you're not interested in spoilers, if you don't like the crummy marketing tactics that Deck 9 uses to try and force people to pay $80 for a $40 game,
Wowzer.
then I suggest you click off now, because I'm going to be spoiling. By the way, I didn't buy the game, just watching other people play it at this point. But anyway, I'm going to be spoiling what happens at the end of episode 2. So if you're a base gamer or someone like myself who has no intentions of purchasing, then stay away until you can experience it for yourself. But honestly, I might need to eat my own words on this one.
With her.
Because in the last video, I talked about how if they went the route of an alternate timeline Max Caulfield being an evil Max Caulfield, I might actually end up liking this game. If that's the murder mystery and that's the murderer is in fact Max, then that would be a pretty cool twist, and I wouldn't hate that twist. And for people who've already seen episode 2, you probably know what I'm getting at here, but by the end of this video, we're gonna be in a pretty interesting place. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and cut off and start just rattling off what happens in episode 2. And you start out in the, like, I don't know, it's like a diner cafe place. It's where Amanda works. That's the best thing I know by it. And I think you're still in the Sophie's Alive timeline when you start this chapter out. And so it's you, Sophie, and her mom at this booth, and you start hearing this crazy noise, and you get a nosebleed, and you go investigate the building, and you find another portal that you can go into the other timeline with, and you can switch between timelines. And so that's an interesting enough feature. I'm somewhat interested to see what they do with it. I could see it being a fun feature, but I could just as easily see them using it as like oh, you do this part of the mystery, then you go to the other timeline and do that part of the mystery, and then you go to this timeline and do that side of the mystery. I find if they don't do it creatively enough...
You like to hurt people, huh? Like Max? Like Kate? Like me? Huh? Feel this, motherfucker!
I feel like it's gonna get old, and it's just gonna feel like a chore at that point, just having to constantly go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to solve it. If it's intriguing, and if it sparks curiosity, and it gets me thinking about something else, then maybe, just maybe, I will think that it's like a good feature. Right now, I'm mostly indifferent about it. I don't know if I like it, if I love it, or if I hate it. But at any rate, it becomes apparent that the living Sophie, her car was vandalized. Someone threw a cow skull through her windshield, or broke her windshield and then put a cow skull in her passenger seat. I don't know exactly the details. They just show you a picture of a broken windshield with a cow skull in it. I feel like if you threw a cow skull at a windshield, it wouldn't necessarily break it, but that's a concept maybe for another video. Maybe I'll make a whole controversy video over whether or not cow skulls can truly break windshields.
Proud of you yet.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
But right now,
Maybe
we're just
not.
focused on Life is Strange and what they can offer us to tell a story. So anyway, in order to investigate, you notice that the cow skull is obviously missing in the living timeline. So then you have to go to the dead timeline to find the cow skull and be like, oh, it was signed off on Lucas Culminario, who's the author jerkface guy that you're not supposed to like. And I really hope that at the end of the day they make him like not a villain, because like the streamer that I'm watching just keeps bullying this guy at every point. And I was like, I really hope that he redeems himself or proves that he was never like an awful guy. Like, he's an author who's pretty high up on himself, there's no denying that, but that doesn't make you evil inherently. And people are just treating him like he's some evil, awful person just because he has a high opinion of himself. But at any rate, So you go through the portion of that, and I'm trying to think here. You basically are just hopping through timelines, trying to solve that. You find the skull, discover that it was his skull. At some point in time, you have to grab it. This is like the worst thing I've ever seen. At some point in time in this chapter, you have to grab a footstool, a full-on footstool, like a stepladder footstool. And then, like, she picks it up, and it disappears, does the whole black hole pocket glitch that so many games love to do. And then not only does she just like shove this step ladder into her black hole pocket, but she then manages to take it from one dimension to the next so that she can go look at this cow skull. And I'm just like, that is absolutely bonkers. Like, we all kind of laugh and have fun with the amount of weird stuff that these video game characters can fit in their pockets, but when we're talking about like an entire stepladder, that's pushing like the realms of funny and just becoming ridiculous at that point.
I want to die.
So at anyway, I had a real fun time making fun of that. But so you solve the mystery, and then you go on campus, and you're messing around with Lucas Colmenario, trying to get his key to look inside his briefcase, and then you're snooping on Gwen, and it turns out that Gwen snuffed Safi's book deal, and then you get into Lucas Colmenario's briefcase, and it turns out that like his son is saying some terrible things about him that he swears was not the truth, and he's saying that Safi put his son up to it, but his son is saying that he said it to his face. It's a whole yucky, mucky situation. And then I think after all that is said and done, you move to the next scene, which is like there's some sort of commotion outside, which like this feels pretty good because my boy Reggie had been like completely absent from this episode, and I was like, where's Reggie at? And you go outside and Reggie's having a panic attack, and I'm like, oh, that's not a good thing for Reggie to be doing. At any rate, he apparently had seen himself in the observatory, which is like this, that's the active crime scene. That's where Safi was killed. And so people aren't really supposed to be up there. And he went up there and he saw himself, which it would imply that either Homeboy has powers like what's-her-name does, or the timelines are starting to mold together.
Now, you want to tell me what you saw?
I saw myself.
I think it's more the latter because we have several instances now
Walking around.
of other people running into themselves. And so like we have Reggie ran into himself. Lucas Colmenario apparently told his son something that he never actually told his son. And then Gwen, we discover there's surveillance evidence of her providing students with drugs, and she's like, I never did that, but why is there surveillance episode or evidence of it? Like, that's insane. That shouldn't exist. And so it's looking a lot like the timelines are starting to mold. And one observation that I've been making ever since she's been in this timeline is the absence of the second Max. Like, why does everybody have a second person except for Max? Like, you never see the second Max. And so I'm like, that's a little sus. That leads me to believe that there might be an evil Max lurking in the shadows, killing Safi's and making other Max's life just absolute awfulness.
My friend Safi is dead.
And that is a twist that I can get behind. So if they're going that route, I 100% support it, and I appreciate them doing that. But there's no telling right now. It's still very early on. But that's the kind of observations that I was making. Like I said, the entire time we're in this other timeline, I'm like, where is this other Max at? Like, you see everybody else's double, and other people are even starting to see their doubles, but you don't see another Max. And so either this is like another instance of really poorly written stories by Deck 9, or there's an evil Max lurking in the shadows and we just haven't met him yet. And either one of those outcomes, I would be more than happy to explore because they both sound pretty dang cool. So, at any rate, after you meet up with Reggie and send him on to the infirmary, you go up to the lookout point to see what's going down, and you find that there's flowers growing where What's-His-Guts' body used to be. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, I guess that's weird that like flowers would start growing so dang fast. But other than that, it wasn't really all that strange. And then that reporter lady is up there as well, and she's being her same old lame self. I'm just like, go away, I don't want to talk to you.
Don't worry.
And she tells you something significant while you're up there. What does she tell you? A source of some sort. Oh, there was another murder on campus in a similar fashion. Like another aspiring writer they allegedly committed suicide, and they're trying to cover up Safi's murder as a suicide. And so there was this alleged person allegedly took their own life. And they're trying to say the same about Safi, and they're like, well, this seems like a pattern at this point. 2 young writers at the same university, and like, something about that seems a little sus. But then you're getting all these phone calls. Turns out Moses is blowing up your phone because he's got his own problems to deal with. He's got Johnny Law on his back, and they're like, hey, you're #1 suspect because you're the last person to see this person alive, which isn't necessarily true. I think Max saw her alive before he did, but he apparently is just not telling them that, or they haven't deduced that for whatever reason. But at any rate, so homeboy police officer's grilling into Moses, and Moses reaches out to you for help, which is a whole weird situation because, like, if this is like a police investigation, I don't know that they would let What's-Her-Guts Max just waltz in there and be like, hey Moses, what's going on? Tell me what you're trying to hide from this police officer. And then he's like, well, you see, Max, I stole What's-Her-Guts' camera, and now they're looking for it, and if they find it, I'm gonna be in real deep crap. And so Max then goes on super sleuthy adventure mode and splits timelines to figure out and find crap, and eventually you find the camera hidden in a vent. There's an interesting little moment here where you're trying to take the camera while the detective is also in the room in a different timeline. And that was a really cool, fun dynamic. I actually really appreciated that dynamic. And I think if I ever do play this game, I'll probably purposely get caught by him just to see what difference it makes. But ultimately, the person I was watching did not get caught. They successfully got the camera. And you wind up moving a telescope into that world and taking the pieces of the telescope back into the other timeline. And so the detective walks in and he's like, what in the world? Where'd this telescope come from?
What emotion is this?
And then in the other timeline, what's his name? Moses walks in and he's like, what happened to my telescope? I just built it. Why are the supplies all packed up already? Very bizarre, hard to explain. And then they give you this weird kind of choice where it's like trust the police or not trust the police, but like I don't know that I need to make a big choice about this. Is this going to be this really big like of a thing? But it obviously offended Moses because he wanted you to like be like, no, police are lame, but whatever. So then you go to your house, but you're in the living Safi's timeline. And Max makes a note of that when you're in that timeline. She's like, this is weird. It's like a snapshot of the day that Safi died. It's like I haven't touched this place since then.
I hope the cat's okay. Oh, wow. I guess I haven't been home in this world for a couple days. It's like a time capsule of the day Safi died. Weird.
And it's like, maybe because the evil you or the other you from this other dimension is hiding off somewhere and is undercover or whatever. But at any rate, the streamer person did a whole mission with this cat. I don't know if it's part of the cat content DLC or if it's actually a part of this episode, but he did a bunch of junk with this cat. And then after all the cat stuff was done, you go into the dark room, which was so funny. Like, I swear maybe the streamer doesn't know, Dom the Bomb, no hard feelings, but maybe he doesn't know like what a dark room is. He's like, why do they keep calling this a dark room? What? That's bad, don't reference the dark room. And I was like, well, like, they used dark rooms in photography back in the day when you actually had film and weren't using digital photography, but maybe he's unaware of that terminology and that's why he just only associates it with Mark Jefferson. But anyway, they go in the dark room, and they're looking through the photos because what's his name, Moses, really wanted to see the last photo that Safi had taken because they thought that the last photo that she had taken was the one of the three of them, and it turned out she took one more photo, and it was a photo of yours truly, Max Schofield, pointing a gun, Max Caulfield, pointing a gun at the camera, and she's all sad and like, ooh no.
The ground.
And so obviously Moses like loses his mind. He's like, oh my gosh, you did it! You're the killer! Ah! And she's like, no, it wasn't me, you don't understand! And then he runs off and she's all sad and she looks at the pictures like, what's going on here? And so like there's a lot of fan theories floating around, speculating around about, is this evil Max from another timeline? I think that is the most likely good theory / outcome that we can have here. Other people are thinking that Safi is a shapeshifter, which I have pitched a Life is Strange game for a long time now on multiple forums where the main character actually doesn't have powers like Sean, and the main antagonist and or villain does have powers and is a shapeshifter, because I think that would be nuts. So if they did that, it would be a cool nod to the thing that I've been pitching for a while, but I doubt that's actually where they're going with it. A third theory that I've heard is that this is not Max from another timeline so much as it's just this Max, and then she creates all this big old mess and scuttlebutt from all these timeline splitting, just like she did when she was rewinding time in the first game, and it all comes down to her having to kill Safi in order to prevent this comet from coming down and destroying Caledon University. I don't like the big natural disaster world event because we've done that already with the giant hurricane, and so to do that all over again feels like they're just rehashing things that we've already seen and already done.
Bueller?
Diane Arbus.
Be calm
There you go,
and don't
Victoria.
freak out.
Why Arvis?
Yet.
Because of her images of hopeless faces. You feel like totally haunted by the eyes of those sad mothers and children.
She saw humanity as tortured, right?
What's going on?
So that's a bit disappointing if that's in fact where that's going. I haven't heard mention of a comet in game, I don't think, but they say that there's supposed to be some astrophysical event going on, and obviously Moses is really into space and comets and stuff like that, so it would be a good assumption to think that like some meteor is going to come down and threaten the existence of Caledon University, and in order to save it, Max has to kill Safi, or she doesn't kill Safi and the meteor destroys the entire town or whatever. But that feels like exactly like what we did in Life is Strange 1, so I really hope that Deck 9's a little more creative than that, because that would just absolutely suck. What I would like a lot more is there actually being a second Max in another timeline who, for whatever reason, is trying to frame this Max for murdering Safi because she's just pure evil, and that would be a lot more fun.
Chloe trapped you with her drama. Guns, drugs, Rachel. She's just using you, dude.
And I might actually buy the game if they go that route. Even if I watch the whole thing, I'm like, I already know what happens, but because the story is actually decent, I will buy the game. But those are the theories. My theory and my hope is Evil Max. Like I said, that would pull this pretty decently out of its burning fire right now. Episode 2 was a much better episode, a much higher point in the game so far than episode 1 was, which is really backwards. Like, you should really aim to knock your audience off their feet the first time around, and then keep building on those concepts on the second time around, not give them a boring slosh of nothing the first time around, and then finally start to dip into some juicy details the second time around. And we'll see what 3, 4, and 5 have to do, because we still got 3 more episodes to go through and figure out where all this story is going. But I would say episode 2 is like a 3.5 out of 5, maybe. It's just barely above average. Like, it's sprinkling the pot, and it's getting people interested. It's getting me interested, and I'm very cynical on this project. You all know that. You all have seen my videos. You've watched this content. You know that I am expecting this to fail, crash, burn the whole bit. And so for me to be like, you know, it was interesting. I'm actually interested to see what happens next. Like, that's a big step for them. So I wrote some notes down on the episode that I wanted to touch base on. So I'm going to make sure that I hit all my notes before I cut off to the end of the video. Oh, the whole send or delete thing for the for Lucas Culminario with that restraining order. That was where I was going at with the whole weird choices earlier, because it's like, why not just, instead of deleting it, not send it and hold off for, like, I don't know, a day or something? Like, why are your options either send the thing or delete the thing? Like, their options are always so very, like, aggressive. Like, okay, I won't send it right now, Lucas. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But, like, if you don't clear your name or her name or whoever's name in 24 hours, I'm going to send it. But at any rate, whatever. The whole Vin owes you a favor thing, that can be really interesting if they give you multiple options to potentially cash it in throughout the episodes. If it's just a one and done thing, like, here is your one option to cash in your favor, oh, you didn't cash it in, oh well, I guess you just won't use that now, that's lame. But if someone owes me a favor from episode 1 and I can cash it in on, like, episode 4, that's some good payoff. So we'll see what Deck 9's doing there, but that could be some solid good payoff if they actually let you keep bankrolling that favor until you absolutely really need it, and it makes a major story impact for having done so. Doubt it's gonna happen, but we'll see. Reggie Powers, timelines bleeding into each other, Evil Max. Yeah, so other than those 2 points, I've covered all my thoughts. I've given you my thoughts. 3.5 out of 5 is not bad. We're starting to get into interesting territory here with the new episodes. We'll see what the world has in store. Still not holding my breath that it's going to be comparable to the first 2 games, but maybe it won't be nearly as much of a dumpster fire as I had immediately thought that it would be. Like I said, so far episode 2 was better than I had expected, but still not, like, outstanding. But we could be building into something. Like, an early episode shouldn't be, like, blowing my mind. 3 and 4, though, if we're not, like, blowing my mind by 3 and 4, then I'll be a little upset. But I thank you all for stopping by, as I tend to do. I've got my own animation out if you're interested in watching it. I've got my own books if you want to read them. Otherwise, we will continue talking double exposure until the next episodes come out and I can keep cranking out review episodes. Might do an episode on my thoughts on Max and the Evil Max and all those theories and stuff. But for now, this has been episode 2. My thoughts and opinions on it. Not all bad, not all good, but I always appreciate y'all coming by, giving me a watch-see, and I'll catch you on the next one.